from my perspective, it's really about supporting you to become the woman that you want to be, so that you can have the life that you choose to have. You see, so it's not so much about looking at where you come from, the past, and looking at what's happening now and dealing with what's happening now. That is the traditional kind of therapy and counseling that people do. But as you move forward in your life into the reality you want to, that is the real solution to our challenges. So if a person is a beggar and they have no money, and if they think, oh, I didn't have money when I was a child, and look, I don't have money now, and I got these problems and I don't have money, and I must understand my past and I must understand the now, and I need to beg. Let me beg. It might be a good idea to have money. Let me plead, and if I ask them, what's the challenges, they say nobody's giving them money and it's hard to beg and all that. So that would be one way of living, and a lot of people work like that, but it doesn't make sense to me. What makes sense to me is that if I was working with the beggar, instead of focusing on the past and the now and the challenge of the now, is to ask the beggar, what would you like to create actually? What is the experience of life you want to have? And what would that mean about you? And what would you be, in that reality? And then to serve and support them in having that experience that they want, and then supporting them in being that person that they require to be in that reality. So a beggar needing money and coming from 20 years of poverty, talking about it and focusing on it and trying to beg to go forward is no value really. But working with the beggar to say, right, if you become more than you are now, if you can experience the reality of havingness, that you have money, you enjoy having money, you're spending money, you are able to buy whatever it is that you want to buy, you're living as you want to live, wouldn't that be something that, be meaningful to you? That if we move forward and create it in that way, wouldn't that be meaningful to you? If I ask the beggar, and the beggar might say, no, I want to understand my past and I understand my present, and I want to learn how to beg better now for money. Just teach me how to beg better now. Teach me how to deal with the situations I'm in. And I might say, but that doesn't make sense to me, and you'll have to go somewhere else for that. Because what I'm into and what I'm about in supporting myself and other people is being in the reality of the ideal, being in the preferred reality, being the person that is who I am in the preferred reality, supporting that experience. So I would say to the beggar, the choice is yours. Do you want to understand the past and focus on the past? Do you want to deal with the challenges of the now? Do you want to learn about how to beg more efficiently, more elegantly? Or do you want to be the person who is in a reality that is one of security and satisfaction? And that's where the beggar will have the opportunity to choose. No, Ashraf, I just want to know how to beg more elegantly, and efficiently. Or there might be a smart beggar and really say, I might be a beggar, but I'm not a fool. I think what I really want is the consequence of having a secure and satisfying life. And I use the word consequence because there are certain choices, and choices lead to consequences. So the experience of a secure and satisfying life is a function of being a certain type of person. If you're being a certain type of person, then you will have a certain type of life. So the beggar, if you're being a certain type of person, you will have a certain type of life. Choosing to be a certain person has a consequence for you. So for example, the beggar is choosing to be a lack consciousness individual. He's focusing on what he doesn't have. He's focusing on neediness. He's focusing on being dependent. He's focusing on being desperate. And so he has a life of lack, not enough. No joy, no fun, no security, no satisfaction. So if he is being dependent and reactive and resistant and affected and all that, and focused on what he doesn't want and focused on needing, then being that person will result in having a certain experience, the experience of lack. So when usually people choose, they usually choose from being a certain type of person. So the beggar will come to me and say, well, what shall I do, Ashraf? What shall I do in this situation? I'm in a begging situation. What shall I do? Shall I beg in the mornings, in the night? Shall I beg the whole day? What's the best time to beg? What's the not so best time to beg? You understand, the beggar is still being a beggar and wants to make choices while being a beggar mentality individual. Do you understand that? That's why most people, when they are in problems and they go for counseling and coaching, they just ask the question, what must I do? And that never helps, and that's why traditional counseling doesn't work, because it's not what you do that matters, it's what you're being that matters. You see, and as an individual who is being a lack-based, dependent, self-defeating individual, not focusing on havingness and abundance, etc., that person, no matter what choices they make, will have no real change in their life, because the change in your life is a function of changing your vibration. You see? So if you're looking into a mirror and you do, whatever you want to do without changing your clothes, the mirror will reflect you wearing the same clothes. Do you understand? It's only when you wear different clothes that the mirror will reflect you wearing different clothes. Said another way, it is only when you are being different that your life will be different. So most people, they just to ask, what shall I do? So I'm going through this challenge as a beggar, and this is what's happening. Now what do I do? What do I do? And that's not going to help you at all. It's actually asking yourself, not what do I choose to do. It's actually asking yourself, what is the consequence that I really want to experience? What do I want to see reflected in the mirror? What do I want to see reflected in the mirror? When you look at what is then reflected in the mirror, what you want to see in the mirror, that is the choice for a certain consequence, a choice for a certain experience of life. So the beggar says, what shall I do? Or people calling me and clients will say, what shall I do, Ashraf? What shall I do? What shall I choose to do? What shall I choose to act? In which way shall I choose to act? What behavior shall I choose? What must I do? What must I have? What must I do, And that doesn't help you. It's not what choice do you choose. It's what consequence do you choose really. Because choices leads to consequences. So you got to choose on the consequence that you want first. And then the choices that serve that consequence come into play. So if you or anybody else says, well, what shall I do? I'm in this situation now. What shall I do? Like the beggar saying, what shall I do? There's no value in it at all, in real terms. But if I can guide you to saying, the past and the present is not really what's important. It's what you want to create as your future or your current experience, which seems to be in the future. That is the most important. What is the experience you want to have? And that's what really it's about. It's about what is the experience that I as a person wants to have, I as a professional wants to have, I as a parent want to have, I as a partner want to have, as a pal. What is the experience that I want to create for myself and have? So that's really where you want to go, and focus on that. And then the choices that serve that consequence, you can begin to focus on. You can begin to say, whatever choices that lead to that consequence, those are the choices I want to choose. You see, instead of saying, what do I choose in the situation while I'm in lack, it's not going to help you. But saying, what is a consequence that I really want to choose? What is the experience I really want to have? Yes, now that experience that I really want to have, that I've got my mind set on it, I've got my heart set on it, I'm set on that experience of life. That is a consequence, that is the mirror reflection I want to see in my life. So what do I have to be? Because the choice is, what do you choose to be? Who do you choose to be? Who do you choose to create yourself as? What is the object that you want to have reflected back to you in the mirror? So what do I choose to be? That is the choice that leads to the consequence that is the experience of your life. And as you then focus like that, in this moment at this time, without fighting whatever's going in this moment at this time and resisting it and trying to control it and push it and pull it, because that just leads you to fighting the mirror while it's less than ideal, and that's not going to be helpful. So you've got to look at your own experience. You know where you're coming from, you know where you are. The question is, do you know where you want to be? Do you know what you want to be? Do you know what you want to experience? And focus on that as it is already, happening now, the way you want it to happen. So largely, this is about you using your imagination. This is about you using your delight within you to explore a different reality that is possible for you. And the challenge is for you, while you are where you are in the current reality, where your mirror reflects to you a less than ideal experience, your challenge is to just let it be the way it is while it is, to allow it to be the way it is, to ease up and let it be, instead of pushing and pulling and forcing and controlling, resisting and reacting. It's just to ease up while it is the way it is. So if I was speaking to the beggar, I would say to the beggar, just relax completely, stop it. Stop it, stop fighting, stop pushing, stop fighting the mirror, stop trying. Just relax easily, because if you're not at ease, then you cannot access your imagination. Because if you're not at ease, you're not present. And if you're not present, you cannot access your imagination. And for us to move forward to create the reality that we desire, it is a function of us being present, relaxed and at ease while whatever's going on is going on. And that's where we got to surrender our ego power and our power projections. Ego power is, I have to make something happen and I have to force things into being the way I want them to be, and it's such a strain. And power projections, like we've covered in the workshops, it's about you thinking, well, what do I need to change for me to have what I want? Who do I need to change for me to have what I want? What is required for me to have what I want that I don't have now? And both your ego power is you depending on you, and your power projections is you depending on somebody else or something else or some situation, and both of these disempower you. So if you actually within you let go of straining to change things that is happening now, and if you let go of straining to change other people, to change things that's happening now for you, and you just relax, ease up, be present, and while you are as you are in the experience that you are, this is called surrender. And from surrender you can then experience security, which is, I have me, I have my mind, I have my intention, I have my will, I have my desire, I have my free choice, I have freedom, I have also the experience of my imagination to use. So I got me and my mind to apply myself in the direction of what I want. And I have the Spirit of God within me. So whenever you begin to feel appreciation or delight around what it is you want to experience, knowing that you are supported by the universe, by God Almighty, by Source Energy, that you're not alone, then you feel secure, and then that's where the Spirit within you becomes activated, where you feel loved. and supported in your satisfaction, and you know that God Almighty has given you needs and is wanting you to live in satisfaction of your needs, and He is your provider, He is your protector, He will sort it out. So when you know that you have your mind, and you know that you have the Spirit within you, and you activate it through appreciation of universal support, of love and support that always is there, and that support for you to experience satisfaction, that universal desire that exists for you to experience satisfaction, then you activate the Spirit within you. That's when you feel good within you, and you know you're not alone, you know you're loved and supported, you know you're protected and provided, and you know that God Almighty wants you to be satisfied, and that He's going to serve you and support you in your satisfaction. That's when you really feel secure within you, when you stop fretting too much about what's going on around you at this moment, at this time, and having released and surrendered and now experiencing security, where you're not focused on, but what do I need to do to get what I want, or I need somebody else to give me what I want, or I need something else to change what's happening here. And so if you're feeling this level of security from having surrendered, as you've surrendered and you eased up and you're feeling this level of security, knowing that you're not alone, that you have the Spirit of God within you, and then you know that all is required is from the security to actually feel as much as you can the energy of satisfaction in the experience that you want to have. Just feeling extremely, extremely satisfied. Seeing it in your imagination, feeling it in your imagination like you're already there, and most importantly, being in a state of satisfaction and enjoying that satisfaction and appreciating that satisfaction. Then you hand it over to the universe, you hand it over to God Almighty as you let go completely and say, I hand it over and allow you to create it as true for me now. That means I'm not going to try to make it happen. I live in the reality that it has already happened, and I am in the reality that it's already happened. And then you feel solidly in that experience within you, while things outside you are still the same way that they were before. But now you, within you, have gone through a vibrational change. You have become a different frequency. You've become a different person. You are choosing to be a different person now, with a new vibration, a different beingness. And we can speak more about how to focus beingness, but that essentially is from surrender through security, holding the vibration of satisfaction, and then handing it over again, surrendering again to the divine, while you live already in the new reality. And as you do that, without trying to change anything, control anything, trying to make anything happen, the mirror will begin to reflect you, the new you now, because you have now changed your being, you've changed your vibration, and then the mirror has to reflect back to you who you now are in the new reality. And you have now created a new reality by going through this process.